your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West. To give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it, folks. So let's waste some time. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Who will show up to vote? David Scolding has a report published October 4th explaining how both Trumbull and Mahoning counties are expecting a very poor turnout for the general election. Now, the article explains how 80% of the electorate probably won't vote. They won't show up. Now, the entire report is filled with doom and gloom predictions and what seems like a prediction that locals will fail to exercise their right to vote, at least 80% of them. Thus, getting the story to the top 8. That's why story number 1 made it. Story number 2. Weed grants and top headlines. Weed Foundation. The Vindicator has a report published October 3rd explaining how the Raymond John Weed Foundation's board of directors approved $655,000 in grants to 2 organizations supporting educational and economic opportunity. The report explains how Inspiring Minds will receive $300,000 and the Organización Cívica y Cultural Hispana America Inc. Americana Inc. will receive, that's OCA, will receive $355,000. I'm just kidding around, folks. They will receive $355,000 to support support for his workforce development program. Now, Inspiring Minds serves 400 Warren and Youngstown students annually, and OCA. Shout out to Spanish American. I think it was either last month, but we're headed this month, so shout out to all the Spanish Americans. I am practicing Spanish as much as I can. Now, OCA, I guess they have been a force for many local Hispanics for a long time locally. Both organizations have a long history of addressing the community's educational and economic challenges, thus getting this story into the top 8. That's the Organización Cívica y Cultural Hispana Americana Inc. Story number 2. Big. Story number 3. Another street improvement project in Youngstown. David Scolding has a report published October 2nd out of Youngstown after City Council approved legislation to spend up to $125,000 for the planning, design, and engineering to improve and upgrade streets near Youngstown State University. Now, the project includes repaving, signage, pavement markings, and handicap accessible ramps at a cost of about $1.8 million, with the states paying about 68% of the cost and the city paying the remaining 32%. Folks, the project is expected to start in the second half of 2026. That's why story number 3 made it. Story number 4. Another difficult situation in Youngstown. David Scolding has a report published October 7th out of Youngstown after Sobe, SOBE customers lost steam service for a little bit of time. Now, the article says that the service has been restored with a rented steamer. Now, this was after Sobe's former mobile steam plant was repossessed September 30th. Now, the article is filled with Sobe issues being addressed by the company, but made it in because the outage, I guess it disrupted a number of business operations downtown. That's why story number 4 made it this week. Big. Story number 5. Lordstown Data Center is still a top local headline. Bob Coupland has a report published October 7th out of Lordstown in what appears to be the rejection of a data center in Lordstown Village. Now, the article puts out some numbers that many local residents may not have known, like a statement from Philip Fisher stating that there are already 167 data centers in Ohio. Now, the article explains how the village basically just wants to know more about the data centers before they approve and put them in the community. Now, the report lays out the pros and cons when it comes to data centers and what critical decisions are being made at the former GM Lordstown plant now set to be sold. That's why story number 5 made it. Story number 6, a wastewater project to the max. David Skolnick has a report published October 9th explaining how a $42,771,942 contract to keep wastewater from flowing into Mill Creek Park, I guess it has been set to be approved as of October 9th. Now, the article explains the ins and outs of the project and says that the work is supposed to be finished no later than May 29th of 2028. Now, the article ends by stating where the city plans to get the money from, thus getting the story to the top 8. That's why story number 6 also made it to the top 2 this week. Big money, big. Story number 7 and the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week for you. Folks, if you don't get up this early and you do want to check out the top 8, you want to catch up on what news is to look out for during the week, I do upload the show to the website on Mondays. The website on the screen, I upload to our YouTube page. Let's get to this top 2 stories. Story number 7, tax reform is still a topic of discussion. David Skolnick has a report published October 3rd. The report states that mayors in the valley urge caution on tax reform. The article's main focus on property taxes. This was what was cited in the report because the costs have skyrocketed in the past few years, if you did not know. Now, the bill being set in motion would limit unvoted property taxes collected by school districts and save Ohio homeowners nearly $1.7 billion over the next 3 years. Now, the article lays out a grassroots movement that could put the elimination of property taxes on the November 26th ballot. If you did not know, about $30 billion in collected annual, about $30 billion is collected annually in Ohio from property taxes. So if you took that away, who knows what would happen. Story number 7, that's what I almost made to the top this week. Big. Story number 8 in the top local headline and developing news story that made this week for you to keep you informed, folks. If you do want to show some support, it does not take much. All you do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, order a sponsor program, or you stop at the store at 5648 Market Street in Mormon, Ohio. Stop at the store and buy something. The thrift store, we get all kinds of stuff in, used stuff, new stuff, antiques. So if you want to stop at the store, just please don't steal. Just be kind, and if you want to make an offer, come up to the register and make an offer. Thou shalt not steal. Story number 8 is if you want to show some support. Story number 8, the inside story takes a hit. Pat Litowitz has a report published October 8th explaining how the state has rejected reopening Inside Hospital in Warren. The report begins by informing the reader that the failure to conduct a routine maintenance and implement a water management program as the reason. The article also cites fire alarm, sprinkler system, generator, piped oxygen, vacuum systems, boiler system, elevators, radiology equipment, and emergency lighting, all as a factor in the decision. I guess it was failed. Now, if they will get a chance to make the upgrades to meet state standards, was not mentioned in the report. Folks, this story is still developing. That's why story number 8 made to the top local headline this week. It's top of the pile. Well, folks, those are top 8 local headlines developing news stories that made this week. I'll bring back the top 8 international headlines developing news stories. So those you go to the Mediator, me, Brian West. I'll bring it back.
Tune in and don't forget to subscribe to Method 8 Inc. YouTube channel. You can also watch free public entertainment. And don't forget to show some support by visiting www.method8inc.com by buying something, clicking something, watching something, or just reading something. You can also sponsor a program as well. That's www.method8inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
What does Method8inc.com Media Center have that I need?
Small prints, event consulting, photography, business consulting, technical consulting, entertainment consulting, fundraising advice, event videography, movies, news, publishing, media, books, entertainment, acting, broadcasting, public relations, access to the visual and performing arts, ink and black ink refills, audio recording, graphic design, theater, minor computer and cell phone repair, and they're located at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. every Monday through Friday. The list goes on and on.
Method8inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
Oh yeah! And yes, we are chipmunks.
Clap with me, y'all. Clap, 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 clap.
welcome back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. Folks, it is Indigenous Peoples Day this week. And used to be still Columbus Day, Indigenous People Day. And if everybody knows the story of Columbus, he made a voyage, a long voyage, hard voyage, and they said that he discovered America. But historians now show that a lot of people discovered America, and Indians, the Native Americans, just ended up, I guess they ended up at the raw end of the deal, because in all of this discovering, people found something that was valuable. And many Indians today, that are left over from that era, from the bloodlines, they were basically forced into what they call reservations. So that's what we've got to today. But it kind of shows you, folks, that not everybody's life, not everybody's, you get these stories on TV, and the story basically talks about how happy endings, and everybody in these stories are fighting for a happy ending. And I think that's what we are. When you look at Indigenous Peoples Day, that's basically what you see happening. Every civilization, every bloodline, every ethnicity is looking for a happy ending, or some happy place to call home, some happy place to live peacefully and escape the wildness. And that's why a lot of people come to America. So that's what I'll be looking at this Indigenous Peoples Day. And the sad part about searching for a happy ending in the story, white picket fence with your family, wealth abundantly, people serving you and working the lawns, and being in charge, and having kids and letting them go through school, finding a job, getting married. These are the things that people visualize, And sadly, it's not reality, folks. I mean, you may get somebody pregnant that you didn't expect. You may find yourself at a hospital getting a forced abortion. You may have some kids who go into a grocery store and rob the place, and then you have to bail them out of jail, folks. This has become the real reality. You may get out of the military only to find out that somebody's targeting you, or you lost some relatives, or you have a mental disorder, or you lost some limbs, folks. It's amazing how movies can paint a picture of the world, But you have to. I guess the key is to be optimistic and try to look at life optimistically. But folks, there's a lot of bad things happening in today's environment, because everybody is in the pursuit, folks, of happiness. And that's where we're headed into this Indigenous Peoples Day, folks. Just remember that one line: if you are in the pursuit of happiness, you have the right in America to try to find that happiness. So don't feel too bad about trying the American dream, because I think that's what everybody's trying to do. At least everybody that I know, folks. Let's get these top stories. Story number 1. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Churches in the pursuit of happiness are important. So why are they closing? What happened? Axios has a report stating that 15,000 churches could close this year due to a religious shift in the U.S. Now, the story explains how only a few thousand are expected to open. Now, the report explains how this could be crucial when providing food aid, child care, and disaster relief. Now, one key data point is that the fact that 29% are identified as religious affiliated. That's in America, and 62% identify as Christians. This is down from 78% in 2007. Now, this is according to Pew Research Center. Now, the report goes on to say that the National Council of Churches estimated that 100,000 U.S. churches across denominations will close during the next several years. Folks, let's get the story to the top 8. Story number 1 made it this week in our pursuit of happiness. Big B. Story number 2. The AI story is starting to gain a lot of attention. Why? Axios has a report stating that AI could erase 100 million U.S. jobs. Now, the entire report homes in on the data stating that 89% 40% of fast food jobs, 64% of accounting roles, and 47% of trucking positions could be replaced over the next 10 years. Now, this would total out to about nearly 100 million total U.S. job transfers to automation. That's why I said number 2 made it. Story number 3, the housing story. CBS News has a headline stating that foreclosures are surging as U.S. homeowners grapple with rising costs. Now, the report is yet another housing story showing how many Americans are having a hard time keeping up with their mortgage payments as the country grapples with inflation. 322,000 U.S. properties that went into foreclosure in 2024 is what got the story in. The report cites the growing cost of home insurance, utilities, property taxes, repairs, and other home ownership expenses, folks. This story is still developing. Story number 3 made it. Story number 4. Measles is staying in top headlines. Should we be concerned? NBC News has a report stating that measles is spreading. The report states that cases are now popping up in Minnesota. Now, the entire article mentions a trail of measles cases putting it back on the radar. The Centers of Disease Control and Prevention reported a total of 1,544 confirmed cases. That's getting the story to the top 8. That's why it's number 4 made it this week. Well, folks, our top 4 international headlines developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with top 4. So don't you go anywhere. The Mediator, me, Brian West. Stop right back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week, folks. Headed into, if you're watching the show on Monday, on Indigenous Peoples Day, Columbus Day, whatever you want to call it. And this week we're talking about this country and pursuit of the happiness, the pursuit of happiness. And folks, we're just talking about this happy ending of. And a lot of people are pursuing that trying to pursue that happy ending. And there's a lot of anger still in the air, a lot of old wounds being opened back up, especially see a lot of racial issues still alive and people getting shot for their freedom of speech rights and protest. And I mean, it's just sad. You want to feel alive. And the reality of a happy ending is scary sometimes, because when you start to see reality, when you see people fighting over issues that were supposed to be resolved years ago, you see people doing things, killing people and assassinating people, and folks, this stuff is real, And everybody's in the pursuit of power and a good job, so they can feed their families, get an education, and some people feel cheated in this Indigenous Peoples Day. And it made me wonder about a story when I was a kid. My sister, she loved sweets. My dad used to call her Sweets because she would always like candy. So she goes into this corner store, and nobody saw her walk in. She was just a baby. She walks in, grabs all these donut cakes. She comes out of the store, walks home, and she was just ready to eat all of this sugar. I mean, eat it all up without paying for anything. And when I noticed it, I said, "Oh my God!" I said, "Mom, Alicia just took all this stuff from the store. She stole. She didn't know. She was just a baby, And when people are coming to this country to seek refuge or to try to get away, we have to ask ourselves: do they know that there's laws? Do they know that there's a rule of law? Because some people may still have the idea that you could just get on a ship and just come, and there's no government, folks. And my mom gave her a whooping and told her, taught her about going and paying and following the rules. But that's where we are right now. It's just that there's just too many rules, too many to keep up with. I mean, you can't even open up a business without somebody putting a zoning sticker or saying you have to file a license just to get a sign on the building, folks. We're in a different day and age. You could smack your mama and give her a hug, and you be in jail the next day with no forgiveness. Well, folks, let's get to our top 4 stories this week as we celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day. Right now, I don't think a lot of people know where we're headed as a country. Pursuit of happiness may seem like happiness, but you got a lot of people you left behind on your pursuit. A lot of people who want a piece of that pie, folks. Let's waste no time, folks. Let's get to story number 5. The job market is a topic of concern. Fortune has a report stating that the job market is weak and getting weaker according to top economists. The report cites doom and gloom, but does show gains of 60,000 jobs last month, now mostly in healthcare and education. The report goes on to mention an ADP report stating that private sector payrolls found that employers shed a net 32,000 jobs last month, folks. This story is still developing in the pursuit of happiness. Story number 5, Big B. Story number 6, the economy and the shutdown. USA Today has a report explaining how the federal government shutdown will last long enough to hurt the U.S. economy. The report focuses on the need to knows about what takes place during a shutdown, and that is the reality with no one on the job, nothing will get done, and by the vote of the taxpayer, some government employees may not get paid. Now, to an economic professor teaching a class, he would most likely say that this equals out to fewer dollars invested into any local economy where these workers are spending money. Now, the story is a must-read for anyone wanting to know about what takes place during a government shutdown. There are so many angles to look at this report, but overall, the downsizing of government and the ripple effect that this could have in time is what got this story in and what has it still trending. That's why story number 6 also made it to the top 2 this week. Big story number 7 and the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week for you to keep you informed, folks. If you don't get up this early, you do want to catch up on your news. You check out the website on the screen on Mondays. I do upload the show to this website on Mondays. Story number 7, Trump tariffs still in top headlines. Fortune has a report stating that Trump tariffs may be bringing in a lot of revenue, but they're also bringing in a tax on capital so far, according to top economists. Now, the report states that corporations largely absorb the escalating cost of tariffs. Now, the report goes on further to state that the tariffs are on track to inject 1.3 trillion in new revenue by the end of Trump's current term, and as much as 2.8 trillion through 2034. Now, the entire article lays out the expensive path ahead with no certain outcome when it comes to the president's vision for implementing tariffs in the first place. Now, overall, this story is keeping all eyes on the market and what decisions the government will make next in regards to the economy. That's why story number 7 also made it to the top this week. Big story number 8 and the top international headline and developing news story that made this week for you to keep you informed, folks. If you do want the show to show some support, it does not take much. Just visit the website on the screen, buy something, cook something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program, or you can stop at the store at 5648 Mark Street in Boardman, Ohio, and see my smiling face. Let's get to this top story. Story number 8, the government stories during a shutdown. NBC News has a headline stating that the IRS will furlough nearly half of its workforce as shutdowns drag on. Now, this comes after a week before a payment deadline for taxpayers who received extensions on their 2024 filings, according to the report. Now, as many as 34,000 employees, which is about 46% of the workforce in the IRS, is what has government stories like these trending, folks. The story is still developing, thus getting story number 8 into the top, because when the government shuts down, a lot of work does not get done. Well, folks, our top 8 local and international headlines developing news stories that I made this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of doing the research. As usual, I thank all the news outlets, the journalists, people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the man in the middle, the mediator, navigating your news stories just to keep people informed. If you do want the show to show some support, it does not take much. All you do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program, or you can stop by the store at 5648 Mark Street in Boardman, Ohio, and see my smiling face. Well, folks, I am out of here. I'll be back next week looking through over 200 or more stories just to keep you informed. Have yourself a good holiday if you celebrate it. Thank you for tuning to the media this week with me, Brian West. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.